All right, let's real quick do this day. One sec. Okay, so we just did this April 9th trades of the day, following the April 8th trades of the day. So we had a strong push down, second leg down, very aggressive, and then we've kind of had this channel reversal day. Not really reversal, but more like sideways consolidation. But this type of sideways consolidation at the end of what's potentially two legs like makes this type of up move seem a little bit more reasonable. So anyway, we kind of open here following this um, pump into the close here. And then we form a sort of wedge kind of situation here um, as the follow through, and it's two legs up to a higher high. So when you get so this is prime potentially for a reversal. So this is the first trade. I think this is kind of a tough trade to take, but it turns out to be one of the best entries that you get, I guess, all day. And again, these moves are small, right? I think that's why I'm using these arrows on some of them, just because it's really not a scalper's profit, but just based on the size and the look of the bars, like if these were bigger swings, these would be tradable situations, right? So strong big bar up here, inside bar, yet another inside bar, but this inside bar is a very strong reversal inside bar. 3 bars, heavy overlap. Very unlikely that we're going to keep pushing much higher, if at all. There really isn't any level here that we are looking at. Perhaps you can say something like this was a level as a profit target for longs, which we hit here, and then we had to kind of have a little bit of follow through because of how strong this move ended up being. But yeah, weak two-legged follow through. This is your reversal bar. It's not a trade that I'm typically going to take, especially because the entry bar ends up being this like little green doji. When that happens, you can maybe expect that the next bar is going to be like this, and maybe you kind of keep going up higher. And where is your stop supposed to be? Your stop is kind of supposed to be there, so you are kind of risking a little bit more, especially if you're acknowledging that this wedge might continue, you know. So maybe in this type of situation, I might wait for to get that push up here, and then I would take the short from there with the stop up here. Um, but yeah, I guess in this situation, you just got to take the short with the inside, looking on the other side. When you take the inside, you have to make sure that you have a reasonable profit target, right? Like, is your profit target going to be here? I guess that seems reasonable. In this case, right, obviously this is like 0.5%, so it's not super reasonable. You are potentially, because we do have this potential channel here, and I'm sorry that we have all this junk here, like just acknowledge that this is a channel. I don't want to have to go, like we don't want to look too much at this. We're going to be done with this day soon. Um, so it could be at the high of that channel with potentially a way to make it seem like we have 1, 2, 3 pushes up. And then kind of having the come down. So anyway, I guess this ends up being a decent entry. This is kind of a decent follow through here, and then a little pullback, maybe another second entry here, but 3 bars with heavy overlap. So when you get this, really it's pretty sensible. Now here, 5 bars with heavy overlap, going to take a shot to the upside. But this is all barbed wire, so when we take that shot to the upside, we can expect it to reverse. If it reverses strongly, we would expect it to come right back into the range at the very least, and then maybe have another spike out the other side that comes back into the range, and then continue the barbed wire. But no, we just have one push down, a little bit of follow through, and then we come back up for this double top, and then we're down here. Now we have one leg down here, this little channel, and second leg down here, this little spike. I'm about to sneeze. And then we're getting a potential reversal here, right? We end up getting this tiny little doji bar here with kind of a follow through bar here. I think that on this, you're feeling like we don't really have the strength. Technically, this is your, so like if if this was the end of the move and we're looking for a trade, this is your high one here. I mean, kind of this is your high one, really. This is kind of your high one. This is your high two that fails, and then this is your high three. Because this is the high three, we don't really like it. I don't like taking high threes, and when you get this strong outside up bar closing on the high, you kind of feel like, yeah, maybe we're supposed to take it. But it is a high three, and the other thing is we can also look at this as one leg with this deviation to the upside instead of two legs. And because of that, maybe we're going to expect still yet another leg down as we end up getting here. So this ends up not being a good, this ends up being a false signal. We get one more little bar up, and then we push down, and then yet another push down. We build this new channel here, and yeah, that ends up being a second leg down. And you can almost look at this as one leg here, and then kind of like an ABC, kind of like this running weird kind of flat-ish situation. Not really. Anyway, so now we get our, I guess this is technically your high four, because you get this outside doji bar, but we'll call this the, we'll call this the high four because we stay in the channel, and then this is our first break out of the channel. This is, I guess, your first good entry here, because it is that high four. This is where you can expect the move to end. We can kind of say something like this too. Ends up being the entirety of the channel, right? And this ends up taking you not just here, but this ends up setting up the move for the rest of the day. So this is, in fact, the best entry of the entire day that you really should be getting. It ends up getting this really strong spike again into this double top. Strong rejection here, and I think that when you get the strong rejection, some bears might be thinking, we had one leg down here, we have this thing, and now we might get another leg down, kind of exactly like this kind of situation, maybe. But like we were saying on this day's trades, the time horizon that's occurred here relative to what's happened here and here, the strength of these down moves and the swiftness of these down moves, coupled with the really just long time of just waiting here, it makes it less likely that we are going to make a strong push to the downside. It makes it feel more likely that there are going to be buyers underneath this area than sellers. Just as we had in this region, we expected there to be more buyers here. Now we can expect that all of this that happened now looks like a buy zone. So all of this, we can expect there to be buyers in this area. So this ends up, as strong as this is, not being a good bar, or not being a good trigger entry, partially because it's so strong. It's the biggest bar. It's one of the biggest bars of the day, and you don't want to have your stop all the way up here, right, with your entry down here, when your first profit target is probably got to be to this level, right, and your stop has to be up here. So you're already sitting at a poor R, but this is also a little bit more of a dream because you can expect there to be a lot of buying pressure down here. But then there's also just the fact that we have these three strongly overlapped bars. This is like a trading range here. So now your first profit target isn't even down here, it's only here. So it's just not a good entry. Then we get this little 1, 2, 3, whatever bounces, and that ends up doing a little lift off here. I could have put this here as well, but I think this is kind of harder to take just because we are thinking that we're in this kind of small trading range. Now you're buying at the top of the trading range. And if you want, your first profit target is going to be right up here. Not the biggest fan of that. Better entry is here when we have this little channel kind of situation, come out of the channel, and then we see that this ends up turning into a buy zone. Really strong candle here. Nice, really small inside bar with great follow through here. You just have to take it. You just take it, and then we're off to the races. So this is the second best probably entry that we've seen so far. I guess this was a good entry, but it's a little bit tougher to take given the context. This one is a little bit easier to take because your risk is so well defined here. So then we get strong push up, this climactic pullback or climactic potential finish, strong pullback, heavy overlap between these three bars, possibly expecting that there could be some sort of exhaustion coming. This bar ends up pushing a little bit higher. This now is your kind of like a low 2. Really, it's your low 1 because this isn't really the low 1. But at this point, you might feel like it's a low 2. And that's why some might take it. It ends up being kind of an outside down bar too. But there's just too much momentum here. It's just too much momentum here to be fading this and expecting it to go well for you. So this is not a good trade. Same thing here. You have 1 push down, 2 pushes down, and we have the strong push up, but you're now kind of at the top of this level. And like we said, these 4 bars here, these bars here, this is kind of like the heavy overlap area. And in fact, all of this is now heavily overlapped. So we're now kind of buying at the top of a trading range. Even though it does look decent, 2 legs down, and we do end up getting a thrust to the higher high. In this case, it's a very small percentage. So in this particular case, I don't think it's a good buy, but I guess it could make sense on in other contexts. But yeah, just here with like the trading range that we've built here and the lack of volatility on this day, this ends up not being a trade. So this ends up actually being the low 2 that we were talking about here. And this actually is a perfect entry off the higher high, inside bar here, inside. And exactly what you're looking for in an inside is the good risk to reward. It doesn't make as much sense to take the long if we break above this, but certainly this way makes a lot of sense. First profit target will probably be here, second profit target will probably be here, and then third would probably be here. I would probably be out. I probably would not hold all the way into this buy zone, but this ends up being a really strong push that takes us all the way into the buy zone. This I put as a potential long situation here because we had some support here previously, and there's like potential bounce here, and if we break above here, maybe longs might get eager to maybe take a buy back up to this 43 region, but this candle in particular is just so strong. You cannot fade this. This is an unfadable candle. I don't know why that happened. This candle here is an unfadable candle, so this is a horrible look. I mean, there's no price action explanation for taking this, but like maybe you think that you want to take it. It's not a good one. And then this ends up being the last one, little pullback, first pullback here, and kind of a similar situation up here in that we kind of have a like overlapping kind of range, but this one actually ends up working out and taking you down to this level. So this one actually ends up working out. I don't think I would be able to take this trade just because of the extreme risk that you have to have with the lack of really reward. Let me just remove everything now. The lack of potential reward, but coming into daily, you can take these types of trades, I suppose. I guess I wouldn't really put that as I guess I wouldn't really call this. Okay, we'll leave it just because it ends up being a trade that you can take to make money, even though it's not a trade that necessarily I would take. But that's kind of the purpose of this exercise, is to find trades that maybe you wouldn't necessarily be taking, that you should be taking. And I don't know if this is one that I would take now after having seen that this worked out, but I guess because of the strength and momentum coming down here, it's only natural that there's going to be some sort of strong follow through here, following this really strong dump candle. I mean, when we break the low, and it looks like we probably bounce here and then try and push higher first, and then we push lower. So as soon as we break that low, yeah, it makes sense. But you have to be very quick. You don't really have much of an opportunity to close your position down here before it ends up being. I'm going to rescind the. This is not here. This is a. Yeah, that's not a good trade. This is not a good trade. It ends up working out, but like not really. It only ends up working out if you take your profit down here. And if you don't take your profit down here, you don't ever really get an opportunity to do so again until here. And if you don't take it here, you don't really ever have an opportunity. I mean, okay, so it actually does end up working out because your stop never gets taken out up here. Okay, that's something for another day. All right, thanks for watching.